how you doing? It's Nomad here, and I want to give this video, or I want to make this video dealing with people, and this is aimed at people who are currently homeless or about to be homeless. And I keep getting calls from people who are like on the edge. Maybe they just became homeless, or they're living in hotels, or they're about to be evicted or whatever. And it's the same drama over and over again. And I get so sick of it that I'm going to do these videos. I've been planning to do these videos for a while, so I'm going to do a series of videos giving you advice, good advice from my experience. So I was homeless several times in different scenarios. I know what it's like to go from your house to an apartment, or from your apartment to hotels, or from hotels to Airbnbs and short-term stays and extended stays, and you're running around trying to struggle and running this rat race to pay the hotel bill. Maybe it comes down to like that day, you got to pay it daily, and you got to come up with $80 or $100 or $50 to pay that day. God forbid if you don't have a vehicle. So this is going to be a long video, but if you're in that situation or about to be, or you're worried that you might be, and excuse these helicopters in the background, like this is LA, and it's just noise pollution everywhere, so the news helicopters can get the latest drama. But if you're, especially with coronavirus, maybe you can't pay your rent or your mortgage, whatever, and you're worried. So that's what this is aimed for. Even if you're just worried about it, what would it be like? What's it like? What should I do? So that's what this is who this video is aimed at, okay? Maybe you're already in a hotel or Airbnb. God dang. Go away. These helicopters, man. Anyway, and you're just feeling hopeless, or you're scared, you're stressed. Maybe it's with you and your family, maybe it's just you and your spouse, whatever. Okay, so here's the main thing I need to get across, and here's the deal. So this whole society is not for you, okay? It's not designed to help you. It's really like the Matrix movie, and the idea is to get you back plugged in, which means working a job and then funneling that money into the system through rent, mortgages, and debt. Now, it doesn't have to be that way. So, if you're running this rat race where you're thinking like, I'll just work harder, I'll work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, I'll work harder, I'll do whatever it takes. It's very easy to slip into that mindset. I was in that mindset once. And you just feel like you're moonwalking, like you think you're moving forward, but somehow you just keep moving back. And you're like, I'm trying my best, what's going on? And like, no one will help you, right? It's like, you can only ask friends and family for so much help. By the way, on that note, if you do need to ask friends and family for help, do not tell them your situation. Just ask them for help. Say, hey, can I borrow $100 or whatever? What I've learned is like, if you give them the detail, they'll get scared. Maybe they've never been in that situation, and you kind of cross this line where they don't see you as human anymore, and they're not going to help you. You think, oh, if I tell them the situation, they'll understand and help me. No. Don't tell them the details, because a lot of people cannot handle it. Maybe you fall into a situation that they've never been in. It scares people, and they'll just go running the other way. They won't return your phone calls. They won't call you back. They'll say, oh, I'm going on vacation, I can't help you, whatever. It's like they got the money, they just don't want to help give you any, right? Some people, they are upset because they don't see how, like if you're paying monthly in a hotel and it's, $100 a day or whatever, say you're a big fan, $100 a day, they don't see any way out, so they don't want to help you. It just seems like a bottomless pit. Maybe they just don't like you and they don't want to help you, whatever. But my point is that it's not even about that. I'm going to show you a way out that is not apparent. So, people are at different stages of this cycle. For whatever reason, you end up in a situation where you're about to have to move out of your place and you don't have any real place to go. I would say, obviously, if it's possible to find a friend or relative to stay with, that you can live with, do that. If it's a prideful thing, swallow your pride and do that. It'll be infinitely better than trying to wing it in some hotel situation, because once you get in that cycle, it's a downhill thing. I know maybe you don't get along with your relatives or friends, but if you look, so the deal on that is like, have a plan and just clearly present to them the plan. Say, can I stay with you for X time? If you can pay a little money, offer a little money. If you can help around, offer to help them around, whatever, and just do that. And basically, most people, if you have a clear plan, they'll help you, right? So, but if you just come, hey, can I just stay at your place? Then they're thinking like, oh my God, you're just gonna be at my place forever. How will I get rid of you? But if you're like, I just need to be there for a month, 2 weeks, a week, whatever, then they'll probably work with you, okay? So get a plan in your head, what it is. Like, I'm waiting for my apartment, whatever, I need to save some money to get an apartment or RV or boat, whatever. So I would say, if you can, do that. Now, I understand sometimes you don't want to live with some people that are just jerks. There's a lot of them. You're in a weak position, they're in a power position, you're groveling to them, and then they treat you accordingly. There's a lot of people like that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that is the case. You're like, the last thing I want to do is go to X. I'd rather stay and fight, work 10 jobs before I go. I get that. I understand. And I understand that, but my whole thing to you is there's a better solution than the hotel thing. Like, you don't want to do the hotel thing. Avoid that like the freaking plague. I don't care how you rationalize it. Don't do that whatsoever. So, basically, what was I going to say? So, I know of a person, I get these calls all the time. I try to help people. And like I said, I've been there. But here's what I want to say to you. If you have a vehicle, so here's my deal with you. What is a way out of this cycle? And I'm gonna tell you what it is. The trick is vehicle living. Okay, you want to live in your vehicle. I know it can seem scary. It can seem, especially if you live in a hot climate like Houston or Texas or whatever. That it can seem scary. Like, how can I do that? Whatever. I'm telling you, and I'm gonna put links in this video on some people who do this, and they have lots of advice. You can do it, okay? And the reason this is better is because if you have a vehicle, and this is for people who have vehicles really, because if you don't have a vehicle, it's much harder. But I would say if you have a vehicle, start thinking, how can I live in that vehicle? If you don't have a vehicle, you need to think in terms of, how can I get a vehicle to live in? Now, usually what happens is when a person ends up in a crisis situation, what's going on is that they either have a little money or they're about to get a little money. And speaking on that note, if you're getting a stimulus check, if you're going to get it, if you haven't gotten it, or you're going to get the second one, or whatever, you're going to get unemployment, whatever you do, do not just funnel that money to rent. Because what will happen is, it's a temporary thing. You'll run out of that money, and then you'll be right back where you started, minus thousands of dollars. You don't have to do that. The system is designed to get you to think that way, that, when I get some money, I gotta go rent something. And I did that myself. I know all about it. If you have questions for me on that situation, just text me. Message me in the video, and I will answer your questions. And I had a scenario for myself where I had $2,000, and my mother had passed, and my siblings wanted to sell the house. And, I didn't really think about it. I guess I was still mourning. I don't know. I was going through a lot of stuff. And basically, I went and rented this furnished apartment for $2,000 a month, which was like the dumbest thing I could ever have done. And I gave them basically, my last money. And I had this delusion that I was going to somehow work really hard and be able to pay and keep us in there. Because, you could have paid weekly, daily, whatever. Anyway, that didn't pan out, and I basically ended up living out of my car. So what you want to do is what I should have done in that case. And what you want to do is find a vehicle, okay? If you have a vehicle, upgrade the vehicle. Meaning, when I say upgrade the livability of the vehicle, okay? Now, if you have little money and you're thinking, I can't afford a car, I don't have enough money, I need thousands of dollars, or whatever. That's not true, because every day around America, there are police auctions. I don't really advocate the whole police auction thing, because they're like the enemy, just towing people's vehicles, homeless people's vehicles. People live in their vehicle, they'll tow them. But the bottom line is, you can go there and you can get a car for a couple $100. Like, you can get a nice gigantic, SUV for $600. So I mean, the amount of money people are paying to rent, normal rent, like say $1,500. Like my daughter right now is struggling to pay rent she's with 6 of her friends and they're like struggling to pay rent. And I'm like, y'all need to buy something. Every month they're paying like $3,000 a month. They could buy a boat and an RV, 2 of them every month. But they're just not thinking that way, you know, because the whole society is just like, you have to be comfortable. You have to be normal, you know, and people are so scared of like this homeless thing. Like, oh God, if I'm homeless, it's the end of the world. Oh my God, I'm subhuman and all this crap. That's a bunch of BS. The bottom line is you want to get in an empowered state, okay? And one of the quickest ways to do that is to own something. Now maybe you can't own a house, but you can own a car, you can own a trailer, you can own a boat, you can own an RV, you can own a van, you know? You can own a little piece of land somewhere and camp on it. You gotta stop thinking rent. And when I say that, I mean, you know, hotels, Airbnbs, apartments, whatever it is. Just don't think that way. You wanna think, how can I own something? How can I live without having to pay rent? Because the bottom line is you're not in a good position. You need to get in a position where you are strong financially. And even if you make a minimum wage at some job, it can work. The reason it doesn't work, like, so, you know, and is I know several situations where people were struggling and they're making, you know, minimum wage or something like that, and they're trying to pay a hotel or something. It doesn't work. The math doesn't work, okay? So if you're paying $50 or whatever at a hotel, and what's that, like, $250 or $300 a week, and then that's what, $600, $1,200 a month, right? I mean, if you're making $15 an hour or $12 an hour, like, after you subtract the rent, there's nothing hardly left for anything else. And that's the bad math. The factor of the rent factor, you have to take that out of the equation. If you take the rent factor out, then you do have enough to grow and get ahead. Now, it might mean roughing it a little bit, and that's okay. We can rough it. Like, it's rough. Life is freaking rough. Like, the settlers and the natives and the indigenous people and all the people that had to live off the land for thousands of years before us had to do it rough. Okay, you can do it rough. It's not that big a deal, okay? Now, people might ridicule you or they might look down on you, but who cares? Because if you waste all your money on hotels and apartments and all this crap, and I'm mostly talking about hotels and Airbnbs and short-term rentals. I mean, if you can find an apartment that's reasonable, that you can afford to rent, fine, you know, you can do that. So I'm not really talking about this situation. I'm talking about, you know, these short-term rental things, rental, you know, hotels and things like that are just gonna eat your cash until you have nothing, and you'll be out on the street, and ain't nobody gonna care about you. Half of these people in LA, which has like the country's largest or second largest homeless population, I mean, a lot of them are on drugs and have mental illness, but a lot of them got on drugs or it was exacerbated because of the stress of trying to make the rent and not being able to make it. And same for the mental illness. It'll literally drive you crazy. You know, so, but my point is that, so you want to focus on what do you have. So you want to use your vehicle, and we're going to talk about that, or you want to get a vehicle, okay? And it doesn't have to be, so here's the factor. So when we're thinking about vehicles in this situation, we're thinking livability, okay? So I'm gonna tell you the main points you need to think about as far as livability. Now I wanna say something real quick on this. People get all bent out of shape about living in their vehicle. But the thing is that it takes the edge off. You can still do what you're doing. You can still be looking for an apartment, looking for a new place to live, whatever. But now you don't have that guillotine of hotel rent and short-term rental rent over your head. You can like take time to accumulate some money, save some money to do the plan you want to do. Whatever that is, you have enough time to think clearly to figure out what you want to do. Do you want to move somewhere else, move to a cheaper place, get a different kind of job, whatever. It buys you time and it takes the edge off. And that's not to say that there aren't costs involved with vehicle living, but you know, I do it, and I wish I had done it a long time ago, but I was so caught up in the matrix and all this, you know, trying to live a middle-class American dream lifestyle that I just, you know, didn't see it till it was kind of like thrown in my face. And that's another video, but, and you know, you can see my story at the, in the About section, is some of the first videos. I'll put the links below. So listen, so when we think livability, so when you're getting a vehicle for this purpose, it's not about how it looks, it's not, although that's a factor, okay? You do want to get something that will not cause the police or security guards to or just the people who are around you to take a second look. So you want it to be a decent looking vehicle, okay? That is important. But it doesn't have to be some fancy thing. And you just want to, you just want to make sure that the engine works good and the transmission and the brakes, like the core things are there. But beyond that, like, is it drivable? Beyond that, livability, the number one factor on livability is getting a good night's sleep. And the key to that is having a horizontal sleeping surface. And I'll include another link. I had another video where I talk all about this, but I'll say it again. That's the number one factor, because when you're in a homeless situation, the biggest enemy is lack of sleep. That's the thing that really can drive you crazy. And the whole system's set up so that you can't sleep. They don't want you to sleep. There's two things they don't want you to do: sleep and go to the bathroom, right? Because then your life's uncomfortable, and then you got to come back to them, and you got to pay the rent, right? And that's their goal. So if you can solve those two problems, you're way ahead of the game. You've kind of broken out, right? So the number one is horizontal sleeping surface. So not sleeping in your car, sitting up in your seat, all uncomfortable. You don't have to be uncomfortable, okay? So this gets to the type of, so when you're thinking of buying a car or whatever, let's say you're thinking of buying a vehicle and it's gonna be a car, then what you wanna do is find something like an SUV that has a big trunk area where the seats go down and you can put like a full-size blow-up mattress in there, or maybe some foam mattresses or blankets or whatever. But you want to be able to put the seats down and have in the back of this thing a full-size bed that 2 or 3 people can, maybe 2 parents and a baby or something, can sleep in. That's what you want. Do not get a car without that, because it'll be extremely hard to sleep in there. Now, let's say that you do have a car ready. What can you do? You can buy a trailer. You can go buy a trailer and hitch it to your car. And you can drive that around, and at least then you have some beds in there, and a kitchen, and a bathroom, and a place to put your stuff, right? Now let's say you have a pickup truck. So in the case of a pickup truck, there's 2 things you can do. One is you can get a cover for the back, and you can make the inside something that you can sleep in, okay? And that's real important, okay? So you can do that. The other thing you can do is you can get a truck camper that will go on the truck, which would be better. And you can find all these things on Craigslist, really cheap, okay? And which is what I mean. And if you can get a truck camper, even a small one, what it'll do is it'll give you, like I said, a place to sleep, go to the bathroom, put your stuff, and cook, right? And that's what you need. So, but even beyond that, if you can get a van, that's better. If you can get a camping van that has all the stuff in it, it's like a little RV, but it's a van, that's even better. If you can get an RV, a small RV, that's even better, okay? And you can get small RVs on Craigslist for like $1,000, $1,500. So you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna put that $1,500 into rent. You don't have to do that, okay? You can buy something, own it, and have a way to live while you're trying to figure out your situation, okay? So let's see, what else? So that's the number one thing, ability to sleep horizontally, extremely important. Because if you can sleep horizontally and you can get a good night's sleep, then you can get up the next day and be fresh and energized and go out there and solve all your problems, okay? So the next livability issue is, let's see, is basically a place to cook, right? So if you have, you can get a little camp stove and you can cook in your vehicle, okay? There's little coolers you can get. There's electric coolers that are like little fridges that'll take care of refrigeration. There's all kinds of solutions out there. Just Google it. It's not that there aren't answers. It's just that we're indoctrinated not to look for these answers. So I'm not gonna go on here about all those answers. The main one is to be able to sleep. As far as, well, where do you shower? Well, that's easy. You go to the gym and shower, okay? Now with coronavirus right now, a lot of gyms are closed. So another thing you can do is you can get some wipes, baby wipes, and you just take a little sponge bath or whatever. I'll include a link on that. What's her name? Hobo Ale. She changed her name to Alexandria Tejas. Talks about, there's a little shower thing you can get. I mean, the thing about a vehicle is you can travel. So if you're in a current area and they're not there's not a lot of help there, then you can move somewhere else to where there is help or whatever. You can move around, and you need to take a break, go off to the beach or the mountains or a campsite, you can do that. Like, you're not stuck in, because when you do the hotel thing, you're kind of stuck there. And then you're running around, and your whole consciousness becomes about, I gotta get the rental hotel, I gotta survive, and you get stuck there, and it can get depressing. Even a nice hotel, after a couple of weeks, gets depressing, right? And then you just feel like they don't appreciate you. And the thing is, they don't want you there. Most hotels do not want you living there. They just want they want tourists to come, pay a lot of money, and move on. So once they sense you're living there, even though you're paying thousands of dollars a month, you get this sort of weird like vibe. So all I can say is avoid that at all costs. The other livability issue is where to put your stuff. And so on that note, I'm gonna tell you from experience, do not do a storage. Do not do a storage. Go through your stuff, sell everything that you don't need, that you can't replace. Keep only the mementos. I know you're probably thinking, oh, as soon as I get reestablished and get back on my feet, then yeah, I'll pull everything out of storage. Do you know how many times for me, I had a crisis happen and I couldn't get to my storage? I had that exact thought. I mean, it wasn't even that much money. But, for whatever reason, the money's going to hotels and I'm running around trying to pay for everything. And then I can't pay my storage, or I forget, or whatever. As a rule now, I don't do no storage, and I would advise you not to do any storage. I mean, if you can find a relative or a friend, say, hey, can I store my stuff in your garage, in your basement, and offer to pay them a little money or something, and have a plan, say, for this much time, that would be better, but you'd be surprised how many stories I hear, people doing that, and then their friends throw out their stuff. I mean, people are just so freaking cruel. So anyway, but if you have your own vehicle, you can store your own stuff, right? And you have a place to put your stuff. Get rid of everything that's non-essential. Anything you can replace, again, get rid of it. Don't be hauling around a bunch of junk because you're trapped in some lifestyle image in your mind of the lifestyle you deserve. Like, throw that crap out the window. It's garbage. Okay, you just want the essentials. So, place to sleep, shower, cook, put your stuff. Those are the core four. There's a fifth one, which is a place to work. But, you can work at coffee houses, because at some point you need to get your computer or your phone and sit down with your notes and figure out your plan and operate on it, right? So you need a place to work. And that could become an issue. So if you have an RV, well, you can work in your RV. If you have a trailer, you can work in your trailer. If you have a van, you can work in your van. So if you have a car, it's a little harder. Well, get two cars. One can be a little mobile office and one can be the one you live in, whatever. Like, look, it's a different mindset. And, but I've just seen so many people go through this cycle, end up, in a rut with nothing. The system will eat you alive. It will take everything you have. The pawn shops will take your stuff. The landlords will take all your money. The car people will take your car back. And you'll just be sitting there on the street, having gone through thousands of dollars. Yeah. And have nothing to show for it. So now is the time to step back and do the right thing, which is that you have to get in a more empowered state economically. And you don't have to wait till you're making 100,000 or rich or save all that. That's just the matrix way of trying to suck more money out of you. You can start an empowered economic state right now, today, okay? And it begins with stop paying all this freaking money to rent, okay? And don't do that hotel thing thinking, oh, I'll work 3 jobs and one day I'll get ahead of it. Hey, that's what they want you to do. They love it. They're in Hawaii. You like working 3 jobs to pay this rent for them. I mean, it's just insane. Like, no. And look, I know you have kids maybe. Hopefully they're little kids. If they're little kids, if they're less than like 10, it's an adventure for them. So it doesn't matter, right? If they're teenagers, then they get very self-conscious about how they come off or whatever. And you never have to use that H word, homeless. You don't have to say that. You're not homeless. That word is so full of freaking like victim and and just it's like a marker, like, oh, you're some kind of loser in society and blah, blah, blah. Don't ever use that word. You're not homeless. Just because you decide you don't want to give all your money to a landlord doesn't make you homeless. You are a nomad. And you're, why is our self-worth defined by where we live? So if someone's living, they're paying $5,000 a month to live in, Santa Monica in a nice looking 2-bedroom, and they're paying like $500 a month for some nice car on their car payment, and they got all this debt and all this stuff, and they're living this lifestyle. They're good people. But someone else who has a car they own, or a van they own, or an RV they own, or a boat they own, and they're living in it, somehow like they're bad people. Something's wrong with them. When they're economically in a better position because they have assets. Now sure, they may be depreciating assets, but they're assets nonetheless. It's better than nothing. So for me, all my vehicles, I own them outright, okay? I have a truck and an RV, all paid for. And I did that with the windfall. So when you get a windfall, do not think, oh, with this windfall, say you're getting $5,000 back from your taxes, or you're getting the stimulus, $2,400 as a couple from the stimulus, or whatever, or you're getting $600 a week from the unemployment, whatever you're getting, or you're getting severance from the job you lost. I don't know what it is. Someone's going to loan you $2,000, whatever. When you get this windfall, invest it in your infrastructure, meaning, what can you do at this stage? Well, you can buy a vehicle, car, boat, van, trailer, camper trailer, RV, you can buy something. You can, I had an RV that I paid $900 for. There's a video of the ugly green thing, here's a whole series on that. This was my learning experience on RVs. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was so desperate. I went and bought that ugly crap, and then I put another $800 into it, and then I wasn't paying attention, and it got towed, and then I found someone bought it, and I saw it again. I asked them, they said they paid $63 for my RV. So that's what you can get at the auction, especially if you're willing to put some work into something. So, and expect to get your hands dirty. This whole system here is designed to make you think everything's comfortable. Oh, you don't have to do it. We'll do it for you. Just pay us every month. No, get your hands dirty. The more you're willing to get your hands dirty and get into the DIY attitude, I'm gonna do it myself, I'm gonna fix it myself, the more empowered you'll feel, and the more empowered you will be. Okay, this system is not about empowering you, it's about disempowering you and enriching a top 10% of this population. And you don't want to be their slave, their indentured servant, which is what they want you to do. All the marketing, all the media is to get you into that mindset to serve them economically. But you don't have to play that game. You can be in this system and not of it. So that's what I want to say to people, because it just pains me to see people with, to get a windfall. Like I met a couple the other day that was homeless. I said, did you get your stimulus check? They're like, oh no, we don't know how to get it. I don't know why everyone doesn't know how to get it, but whatever. I told them how to get it. And I'm like, look, when you get it, you go to the police auction and you buy a vehicle. I mean, if you're homeless and you don't have like anything, that first priority is buy a vehicle. Even they're like, we don't know how to drive. I'm like, buy it and figure out how to drive. Just at least you have something you can stay in. But people, man, they'd rather freaking walk on the street. They're like, what? Anyway, that's enough of my ranting. If you have any questions, put in the comments. I will be glad to help you through this. I'm gonna tell you right now, there ain't nothing to worry about. Don't worry, it'll all be fine. I've been through all of that kind of stuff, and I'm here to tell you, if you have the right attitude, everything will be fine. Now on that note, if you have substance abuse, if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, or you have these two problems, that's a whole different story. It may not be fine, but if you're not like that, you'll be fine. And that's another video on that. I would say, man, if you're suffering from some kind of substance abuse, get rid of that now. Especially if you're about to be evicted or something, like you gotta chunk that, because you will not be able to survive if you're under substance abuse and trying to deal with all the challenges you will face. I don't know how people do it, honestly. I don't know how they do it. I mean, it was hard for me. It's hard now. I just can't imagine, like, if my head wasn't straight, how I would deal with it. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, talk to you soon.